Alright everybody, this is a video on how to do a group average plot of a particular channel, of a block average. So I'm going to go ahead and run some code in to get in my data itself. I've used this code in a couple videos, but it's basically going to be asking me for my data, and I'm going to pull in about 10 subjects here. So as it comes in, it's going to ask for my folder. I'm going to go to my group subject folder, which just has data of myself and two groups doing the same tasks, same montage and everything on the head. So it'll go ahead and run it, and you'll see it start to pull in different data sets. There it goes, it's continuing through. There may be some warnings in here, but we should be able to move forward with it. Alright, almost there. I think this is the last one. Oh, maybe this is the last one. There we go. You'll see there's control and pathology folders. They're both myself, just with differing amounts of data coming in. And here we go. So we have my data now. I've run a few lines here. So I initially imported the data as raw, and you'll see it's 10 by 1. That's 10 subjects, 1 data cell for, per subject. Raw edit just has to do with the stimulus channels have been changed. And stem names, I actually extracted the stem names. We actually have a few stem names in there just because it's a little messy, but I think it should work just fine. And I get subject number is going to be the number of subjects, and that's just done by taking the size of that first data set. So I'm going to go ahead and run a couple jobs. I'm going to trim a baseline. I'm going to convert to optical density. I'll convert to hemoglobin. Go ahead and run those. You'll see the data start to pull in here in just a moment. And this commented out code is really just a really messy version of the block average for Homer 2. But what we're going to do is convert. We're going to run a GLM. Go ahead and get that. That will basically apply our model to it using the canonical model. And then what I'm going to do is, and actually we didn't actually need to do that last step. We could have avoided doing the canonical model, because what we're going to do is actually run on hemoglobin here. So I'm going to create a block average, and what I'm going to do is take the Homer 2 function of Homer block average. So this dot run Homer 2 function in the toolbox will actually grant you the ability to run certain Homer 2 functions. The catch with that is you have to have the folder added to your path, so make sure you have that. So we should be good to move on to this. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and take that, and I'm going to go ahead and run that on my HB data. So that's all 10 subjects. I get this block data set. Again, 10 subjects, each one has its own data. If I wanted to look at that, I could print it out there. There it is. Then what I'm going to do, you have a couple options here on how to play with it. So first off, keep in mind this section here is done for one subject, so it may not work. You're going to have to tweak it a little bit more than that. But what I do want to do is skip down to this section right here. So we're going to go ahead, I can even just comment this out for that sake. There we go. And I'm going to have a variable called chan1 condition1. What that means is I want the average of channel 1 for all my subjects for condition 1. That's why I named it that. We're going to make it an empty variable. We're going to go ahead and load it in this next one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop for each one of my subjects. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, okay, for this index, index 1, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take the subject 1. I'm going to go into the block average, right? Open that up. I'm going to go over to this data frame here. This is number 1, right? This would be number 2. This would be number 3, this would be number 4, all the way down to 10. So I'm going to go to number 1 first. I'm going to go into it, move that over here, and it's going to go dot data. So I go ahead and open up the data, and you'll notice it's 196 rows. Those are the time points by 40 columns. Those are going to be the channels for HBO and HBR, and then we're going to have 4 conditions in this case. Ideally, it's actually 2. But I have a bit of messy data, so we'll kind of ignore that. It'll work fine for now. But I'm going to go into the data. I'm going to take all the rows. That's all the time points. I'm going to go only channel 1. That's the HBO channel for number 1 HBO channel. and then I'm going to go only condition 1. That's what that's saying. So if I come in here, it's going to be a little messy, but you'll see here's all rows, all columns, condition 1. So really what I'm doing is saying all rows, this first column for channel 1. If we go down, there's 196 before it breaks for the next. Okay, so let's back that up and let's actually see it happen. So I'll go ahead and I already have that created. I'm going to go ahead and run this for loop. It's done. And if I go into chan 1 condition 1, you'll see it's 196 by 10. That's all the time points for each of the 10 subjects for that single channel for that single condition. And then if I want to plot that, I just create a figure. I plot the mean value of channel 1 condition 1, and this second input or second parameter to mean just says, do I want to do it on the rows or the columns? In this case, I want to do it on the columns. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that, and you'll see here it comes. There's my figure. So that is my mean value for all of my channels for this plot here. You'll notice it's 196 time points. It cuts just shy of that. So it's that full time frame. There is my value. Just to verify, that this is an altered state. It should be the mean of those values. But just to verify, we're going to go ahead and plot just the first subject for that value, right? So we can say hold on. Go ahead and run it. If we pull that up again, you'll see there's subject 1. If I want to, I can do subject 2. Boom. There we go. There's subject 2. And blue should be our average, right? So if we keep doing that, we should see something that starts to fall into place for the blue line, right? If we do subject 4, remembering there's only 10 subjects here, it'll start getting real messy real soon. We're looking at the blue line, right? You're starting to see that it actually falls right in that middle ground. You have the green value that's high above that, the purple value that's a little bit above that, and the yellow and the orange that are just below that. So they're starting to balance out on the blue. For me, I have a bit of confidence saying that that's going to be the mean value. So this little snippet of code right here should grant you the ability to do channel-wise and condition-wise block average mean values, right? The block average function itself is basically giving you, like if we were to say block.draw, and I think we can say block.subject.draw, right? You're going to see all values for that single subject for those 4 conditions. And again, it's really just 2 conditions being overlaid. If we do all values.draw, there it goes. You're going to see each individual subject drawn for all of those values. So this gives you the full understanding of it all. Just a little messy. This will actually allow you, this little snippet of code that we just created should allow you to kind of narrow it down to that single channel for all subjects and that single condition for all subjects. Anyway, hope that was helpful.